do that because, see, the problem is I don't know how long it'll take him to join. Don't want to
Sure.
pressure him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easily leaving the governor his group, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and begin if
Okay.
you'd like me to do so.
Now, okay. How about first, before we begin, though, we don't have to vote. We also have to approve the minutes after too, so we have to wait for him to approve the minutes. So you can go ahead and go.
Yeah.
And we
Okay.
can double back and approve the minutes accordingly.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I apologize to interrupt, but Delegate Sewell has just joined, and I'm going to promote her to panelist,
Wonderful.
which means good afternoon, Delegate Sewell. This is Tony McDowell. I'm the Executive Director for the Opioid Abatement Authority, and welcome to our Finance Committee meeting. I was just turning it over to Mr. Holland, who's Chairman of the Board of Supervisors in Chesterfield County and is the Chair of the OAA's Finance Committee. We're also joined by Dr. Sarah Thomason, who is a Vice Chair of the Opioid Abatement Authority and a member of the Finance Committee.
All right. Welcome, Delegate Sewell. Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Pleasure to join you all. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. We appreciate it. I can see him waving now. Great. We appreciate it, Delegate Sewell. We can go ahead and make some motions then. Would you like to go for it? Adam, would you like to go for it? Or we can make motions on the minutes, approve the minutes.
Yeah.
Let me ask for a motion. Let me ask for a motion to approve the prior Finance Committee meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. It's been moved, and I'll second that. And no additional discussion. Any additional discussion, Delegate Sewell? If not, I move for approval of the prior minutes meetings for the Finance Committee. I move for approval. And all those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? None. The ayes carried. The minutes are approved unanimously. Thank you, Adam. You may go forward with your presentation.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members and anyone viewing. I appreciate the opportunity to present this information. So looking at the agenda, as indicated, I'll be providing an update on the settlement payments and the overall budget.
Yes, sir.
An overview of the recommended grant award totals and discuss the financial plan for the awards with specific emphasis on the discretionary cooperative project award recommendations that the Grants Committee will consider later this afternoon. Next, I'll present the amended current fiscal year FY 2024 OAA budget and the proposed biennial budget for fiscal years 2025 and 2026. And finally, I'll very briefly review a few items of relevance to the OAA and the recently adopted budget for the Commonwealth that was passed during the May 13th General Assembly special session. So with that, this is a look at the estimated settlement payments and budget. So a number of previously pending settlements were finalized last month, and those payments subsequently distributed on April 15th to cities and counties and the Commonwealth. So these include settlements associated with manufacturers Teva and Allergan, and the large retail distributors Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens. So over the life of the settlements, these represent $233 million, or about 38% of the total estimated payments to the OAA. So this revised total that you see of $611.5 million is about $2 million less than what was last presented to the committee. And this is due to two of the distributor companies that are part of the distributor settlement. Cencora, which is previously known as AmerisourceBergen, and then Cardinal Health exercised the option to prepay their FY 28 scheduled payment in this year in 2024, which resulted in the reduction of the overall 18-year distributors payment total. So that's why that happened. So that's the new total. Total new payments to the OAA in the current year are about $53.4 million as a result of this second wave of settlements going out. And it includes the entirety of the Walmart payment of $33.6 million, which was paid in a lump sum. So that's good. So collectively, as a result of the new payments, the locality should have received a total of about $21.9 million in new direct distribution funds as well. And just a very quick status update on some of the pending settlements. Purdue, that is still with the Supreme Court and resolution maker sometime in the next couple of months. Endo, so that's a bankruptcy. That reorganization plan was approved in March, and it's anticipated that settlements associated with a finalized plan will occur sometime in the next few months. Kroger, those payments will likely begin later in the summer to early fall this year. And then with the Hikma Pharmaceuticals, there's no status update. So that's where we are with the settlement payments.
Okay, great.
All right, sweet. Try to advance there. There we go. So I won't spend a lot of time here. This slide just kind of depicts the estimated annual settlement payments in the base budget prior to accounting for actual expenditures and carry forward balances. So just wanted to show, how those payments are spread out over term through 2041. And then again, that base budget using the measured approach to kind of smooth the revenues in the budget associated with that over a period of time. All right, so now a brief update on the OAA's amended budget and appropriation for the current fiscal year and next biennium. So actual expenditures in the current fiscal year to date total 36.7 million, the vast majority of which obviously are associated with state and local grant distributions. That's about $34 million. Toward the bottom of this table, you can see the appropriation for FY24 and FY25. And FY26, these are the amounts that are reflected in the recently adopted budget for the Commonwealth. 2024 was administratively provided for, and 25 and 26 are actually reflected in the budget that passed Chapter 2. So this appropriation reflects all of the annual budget amounts by category, again, consistent with the board's adopted long-term financial plan, plus any anticipated carry forward from the previous years. So now looking at the administrative costs as a portion or as a share of appropriation, which is how we've been calculating it, just to kind of keep it in check. You can see that our target is around 5%, which is good. We're comfortable with that, and we're able to operate within that for the most part. As you can see in FY25. We've temporarily bumped up to 5.7% of appropriation. And this is because the majority of our grants management system expenses will be incurred next fiscal year. So it's more of a timing issue. So you can see how we drop down in FY26. So again, next year it drops down to 3.5% because those system development costs disappear, right? So we're getting back down into the range that we're accustomed to seeing in terms of administrative expenses. So that's good. So FY25 is anomalous. That shouldn't really continue. You're not going to see that level of administrative cost moving forward. And if there are no questions, I will continue.
Yeah, let me comment while you're here. I appreciate the sharing of the percent of budget. Adam, thank you. We want to be within 5% is excellent, outstanding, and have a target no more than 10%. So being 5.7, I think is quite commendable. I applaud that. So that's great news. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, so now transitioning to the recommended grant awards for the recent city-county application cycle that closed on April 1st. So obviously, Charlie will provide much more detailed project-specific information associated with these awards during the grants committee meeting. So this is just more of an overall look at the funding amounts, et cetera. So this is the individual distribution awards. They totaled $1.8 million. And you can see the breakout of those funding amounts by region in the table and pie chart. Obviously, it looks like central, at least with respect to the IDIC, the individual distribution, the central region got the most. But the majority of the funds, as you'll see in just a moment, have gone out in the form of cooperative project awards and matching dollars associated with those. So moving into that. So this is the budget and award recommendations associated with the cooperative projects. So I'll just take a moment to explain the methodology behind how these regional cooperative project budget amounts are determined. Okay. So the annual cooperative project budget total, so you can see that 17 million on the left-hand side there. That's used to develop regional budgets that are based on the collective per capita measures of harm for each region.
Okay.
So this is used as a guidepost to meet the OAA statutory requirement to equitably distribute discretionary funds throughout the Commonwealth on a long-term basis. So that's why we do that. So the total cooperative projects budget, including the recommended use of unrestricted funds, totals $21.5 million. So you can see that. So that's 17 and change plus the 4,63565 is recommended use of unrestricted, get you a total of about $22 million. Of the $27.3 million in funding requests, 18.3 million, or about 67% of total funds requested, is recommended for approval. And that's, you can see the net recommended, that is net of the denials associated with the cooperative project award requests in each of those regions. So I'll say that the project denials associated, which are in regions 3 and 4, are primarily reflective of budget limitations, as well as as you can see, the disparity in requests for funding among the regions, which you can see depicted in the table. For example, in Region 3, the Southwestern region, there was a funding request of $7 million, which alone represented 98% of the total statewide budget for cooperative projects. So this is compared to its regional allotment of 24% of the budget. Conversely, Region 5, the Eastern region, requested funding of just over $2 million, or 12% of the overall budget, compared to its budgeted allotment of 21%. So they under requested relative to their allotment, whereas Region 3, their request was significantly more than the budgeted amount associated with their region. So that's why you see a lot of trying to that's what resulted in a lot of the project denials, is my point. And that I think that concludes that slide, unless there are any questions.
One quick question, Adam. This is Jim Holland. Thank you. One quick question. I noticed early on we saw like 7% for the Region 2 Northern regional budget. So they don't have a lot of partners that they can partner with. Is that probably the case for their being so low relative to all the other regions? Is that the reason why Region 2 would be so low? I see overall when we look at, you're seeing 2%, but they seem to be the laggards for the most part.
If I may, Mr. Holland, just to
Please.
in that particular case, Region 2 is Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
And all of the localities, all of the counties and large cities in Region 2 decided last year to pull their resources into a project that was going to be spearheaded by Fairfax County to build and open up a residential treatment center for children.
Right.
And the board saw fit to award them a substantial amount of money in fiscal year 24. But they've not yet been able to spend that money. And so the amount that you see requested right now from Region 2, the 2.35 million, would be on top of the money that the board already appropriated last year. And so we limited their ability to ask for the entire amount that's available because they've not yet spent the money that was awarded to them last year.
Thank you. Good sense. Good sense. I didn't realize that. Thanks for that explanation. Appreciate it. You're on top of it. Adam, go for it then.
Right.
What's next, Adam? The budgets, the approval of the budgets, fiscal 24, 25, and 26. Is that what's next?
In just a moment. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, the approve, we can make the, are you talking about the motion to approve the amendment?
Yeah. Anything else you got to add? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna finish up, just kind of looking at the awards.
Thank you. Excuse
me. The motion can be made at the.
Go ahead. Good. Go ahead. Sorry to preempt you.
No. That's fine. I appreciate it. So this is just a kind of a high level look, and it allows you a look at the unrestricted funds that are used, and this is just a higher level perspective. I won't spend a lot of time here, but throughout the application review process, I'll say funding requests for all applicants for all years are evaluated relative to budget, which helps inform a couple of things. One, the availability of cooperative project funds to accommodate future year funding needs as depicted by the applicant's financial plan. And two, the degree to which new future funding requests may be accommodated based on the current budget award recommendations, as well as how much of a city or county's own individual direct or other source funds must be used to supplement total project costs. So ideally, we'd like to see these out-year funding requests taper down over time as own source funds are used to supplement operational costs. So looking at the FY25 column to the left, you can see that that's a summary of everything that's been recommended and relative to budget. Again, just under 4.5 million in unrestricted funds is recommended for use. And then there's some funding set aside that's recommended for use out of unrestricted for planning grants associated with some of the projects that were received and potentially not recommended for award in this cycle. So that leaves a current balance of about 12.3 million in unrestricted funds in the current year. That is the board's discretion to use. Okay, so this is a look at just all the awards. So this is inclusive of both the individual distribution and gold standard amounts that went out to a locality, as well as any cooperative project awards, as well as individual distribution or gold standard funds that were used as a match on a cooperative project by either the fiscal agent or any of the cooperative partners on that project. So you can see a little over $21 million is what's being recommended for funding right now. And then you can see that the distribution of that those award recommendations by region. Obviously, Region 3 has gotten the bulk of that funding. Again, that's some of that is reflective of the amount of funding requests that were made by Region 3 relative to some of the other regions. And so this is just a quick look. We don't need to spend a lot of time here. This is just kind of graphically, you can see how the funds are distributed throughout the Commonwealth.
Good.
And in descending order, you can see Smith County being a Region 3 applicant. You can see that those just kind of need to kind of see how the funds are distributed throughout the different areas of the Commonwealth. So that's the only purpose for that, really. Now this is going to be the last slide I've got. So you're aware the General Assembly adopted and the Governor signed a new budget for the next biennium effective July 1st for FY25 and FY26. So this table on this the table on this slide reflects items relevant just to the OAA and opioid and substance use issues generally. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but a few highlights, I think, from our perspective, perhaps most importantly, is the language and appropriation establishing the OAA as an independent agency of the Commonwealth. It helps clarify the authority's stature as an independent public body and puts the appropriation out there and the number of FTEs, et cetera. So that's a good thing. And then as it relates to funding for opioid abatement and remediation, excluding that appropriation for the OAA, there's a total of $42 million, all funds, for opioid abatement and remediation efforts, the majority of which about 34 million is coming from the core fund, which is, that's the Commonwealth share of funding that is appropriated by the legislature and used by the governor for opioid purposes. So that does it for me, and it concludes everything I had prepared, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from anyone?
Mr. Holland, I'd just like to
Any
note that
questions?
Senator Pillion has joined the call.
Excellent. Thank you, Senator, for joining us. Any
Yes,
questions?
sorry.
Regarding anything?
Sorry about joining late. I actually had 3 bills just on with the governor dealing with substance use disorder. So sorry, that's a good excuse, I guess.
Senator, that's a great excuse. Thank you. Appreciate it. Adam, any other questions of Adam regarding what we've heard thus far in terms of the settlements, in terms of the allocations accordingly, and the information from the General Assembly? Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, Adam. Next.
Mr.
item.
Holland, if I may, I'm sorry to belabor points, but Adam's done a really nice job of summarizing items from the budget that relate to opioids. And for members of the committee, when you look on this slide and you see at the very bottom where it says subtotal COAR, that's the Commonwealth Opioid Abatement Remediation Fund, as Adam was mentioning. This is the state's share of the opioid settlements. We get a lot of requests from state agencies. The most that we have available to give in any year is about $8 million. But as you can see in this summary, over the biennium, the General Assembly and the governor are appropriating $34.5 million for opioid abatement remediation efforts. Those are funds that are not overseen by the Opioid Abatement Authority, but we do
Yeah.
work closely we work very closely with these agencies to try to make sure that the efforts are in alignment. So this is I think, an important part of how these settlement funds are being used.
Thanks for the clarification. I appreciate it. I'm glad you shared. Thank you. All right, Adam, what's next?
Well, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna stop sharing,
Okay,
and that does it for me. In
okay.
terms of that. So the motion, I guess with
The budget?
the adopting the FY24 amended budget, and then
Right.
25 and 26 proposed budgets.
All right, thank you. So Finance Committee, we need approval to adopt the fiscal year 24, 25, and 26 biennial budget for the OAA. And thanks for clarifying their portion of the state, and that is of the OAA as well. Is there a motion to approve those? It's been moved.
I'll
May I have a second?
second.
Thank you. And properly second. I appreciate it. Any additional discussion or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of the sign of aye, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, likewise sign and saying no. The ayes have it. It is approved. Thank you. So thank you for that, agreeing to that motion for the approval of the fiscal year 24, 25, and 26 biennial budget of the OAA. And I also want to emphasize that we have been attentive to the proportions of the budget allocated to administration, and at 5.7%, you're doing an outstanding job. Anthony and Adam and team, you're doing a great job keeping us within the parameters that we need to be within. Thank you so very much. Any additional items to present? Adam, any additional comments?
Nope, no, sir.
Okay. Now, going forward, one thing I love, I'm a cash flow enthusiast. One thing I love to see is a cash flow in, out, expended, that is to the locality of 21 million, and then an associated balance. And then if we have any investments, that would be nice to note that on a cash flow page or statement, if you would. Top side for the committee, I think, and the authority would be great going forward. Is that something we think we can do?
And I can absolutely do that for you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. That way we have a snapshot. In addition, we've also looked at what funds that are invested or unutilized or sent out funds, what's the status of those and how much is invested, and the associated return, interest, if you will. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate it. Any other business to come before the Finance Committee?
Mr. Chairman, if I can, we're
Please,
going to
yes.
continue with our next session at 3 o'clock. That will be for the
Okay.
Finance Committee.
Yep,
Anyone who's on the call, either as a panelist or as an attendee, if you like, you can just stay logged in. We're gonna pause the recording. We're gonna blank the
Okay.
screens out, but then we will start up again a few
Okay.
minutes before 3 o'clock.